Thank you very much. Welcome back. We enter now the next discussion panel, the role of large investors in the Spanish economy. We would like to especially thank LetterOne, an international long-term investment firm concerned in building businesses that matter, for collaborating with us in this panel. It is a pleasure to introduce you to LetterOne's CEO, Jonathan Muir, who will explain why Spain has become a strategic country for them. Jonathan, yours is the floor. Thank you.
So good morning, and thank you very much for the opportunity to speak today and also host this esteemed panel, which I'm looking forward to a really active and interesting discussion today. Juan has told me that we're a bit out of time, so I'm going to be very, very brief. You'll be glad to know, but I just wanted to say a few words, first of all, about who LetterOne is and what our objectives are, but also a little bit about why we like Spain as an investment destination. LetterOne, it's an international private investment company. We have about $20 billion in AUM, and we support around 120,000 employees in Spain, the EU, UK, US, and the Middle East. In terms of what we like to invest in, we like to invest in businesses that are important for the economy. So in particular, the energy sector, including transition economy, healthcare, health and food retail, as well as telecommunications and technology. Also, and probably relevant to a number of people in this room, we have about $7 billion in our treasury portfolio, the majority of which we would like to invest in businesses. In terms of our philosophy, as Juan said, we like to build businesses. We like to back management teams, and we also have a longer-term philosophy. We like to invest for the long term in 10 plus years, and in particular, we see no reason if we've found a business, we back a business, why we would need to sell it. We would rather keep it, build it, and create further opportunity. In terms of what we like to look for in terms of where we like to deploy our capital, of course, the economy is important, but we also have other factors that we look at, and they're probably epitomized in the 3 Ps. We look at partnerships, we look at people, and we look at purpose. In terms of partnerships, there's no way that we can invest and be successful on our own. We need collaboration with government, we need collaboration with regulators, as well as the investment community, banks, and others that make a successful business thrive. What we need is a business environment where we can have constructive dialogue. We can talk with regulators, we can discuss issues, we can talk about potential opportunity. And we certainly see that in Spain. And what we find is that the more dialogue you have, the better the dialogue is, the more trust you have. A win-win situation is much more viable, much more likely, and that will ultimately lead to further success. In terms of people, obviously the foundation of our success, and any success in business, I would argue. And what we need is a pool of people, not only, of course, with talent, but with ambition and entrepreneurship. And again, we find that in Spain and have found that with our investment in Dia, the supermarket chain. I think from that, I can't do better than to quote President Sanchez, and I'll have to read this out so I don't misquote him, but he said recently that today our labor market is no longer a machine that shreds plans and aspirations for the future, but today functions as a space where opportunities and life projects are created, a sentiment that we very much support. And that leads us on to purpose. Of course, our businesses, our portfolio companies need goals, they need vision, but so do governments when they're looking at the economy, particularly, and their country, particularly around key policies such as industrial policy, education, and the role that strategic industries play in the long-term sustainable growth of an economy. We feel that Spain meets all these criteria, and yes, there may be blips along the way, there may be bumps, but we, as I said, have a very long-term horizon when we look at investments, and we can see through that to the longer-term future. Our experience in DIA has certainly illustrated those 3 Ps in action. In terms of our journey with DIA, it certainly hasn't been a smooth one. We started with a company in quite some difficulty, and since then we've certainly seen many bumps along the way. But we've had a very good dialogue with our fellow shareholders, but also more particularly with government and regulators, which has given the space to not only our board but our management team in order to do quite an innovative transformation in the business. In terms of people, yes, our executive board and our board of directors have done wonderfully well in terms of steering the company, but our colleagues in stores, we have 17,000 people in stores and 15,000 franchisees, have done a fantastic job in helping that transformation work. And DIA's got a very innovative model in terms of franchisees, where they encourage mutual success, not only of the company, but also of those franchisees, and in particular support multi-store ownership, which not only expands the footprint for them, but also helps DIA in its expansion plans. So these factors together have created what is now a thriving, growing company, which is looking to invest further in the Spanish economy in the future years. So that's all I really wanted to say. In conclusion, we really like Spain as a destination. We found it very welcoming, and we found these 3 Ps that we find so important in terms of driving success. So we look forward to further investment, and we look forward to many years in Spain. So thank you very much for hosting us, and look forward to this discussion. So thank you.
Thank you very much for your words, Jonathan. Let me now welcome the panel participants, starting with the Director of the Office for Economic Affairs and G20 from the Presidency of the Spanish Government, Manuel de la Rocha. Manuel, thank you for being here again. Followed by Lord Davis of Abersoc, Chairman of LetterOne and former UK Minister of State for Trade, Investment and Small Business. Davis. Luis Mejías, CEO of BlackRock Spain, James Cepala, Senior Managing Director of and Head of Blackstone Real Estate Europe, and Bjorn Sibern, CEO of SIX. Thank you all for being here. This panel is moderated by Daniel Trasa, Managing Director of ESADE. Daniel, thank you very much. Yours is the floor.
Good morning. Thank you very much for the introduction. Thank you for being here, as this is the first year for ESADE as the academic sponsor of this great event. It's the same year that we're opening a new campus, so it's a great, exciting moment for us. And thank you for doing it in English, because I've been in Spain for about 4 months, and so it would be very portuñol, because I'm Portuguese. So doing it in English makes it a lot easier for me, and certainly much better for you. So thank you for that as well. So we have a great panel of speakers to talk about this issue of, this role of large investors in the development of the Spanish economy. Today, more than before, I think large investors, large companies have a massive role to play. One of the issues of the world's economy today is that large investors do really move money around in large chunks, supporting very large companies that are global, and they matter a lot for the economy. SMEs matter as well, so there's also a connection to where some of these large investments then trickle down to the fabric of society. But then there's also the financial issue and the company's issue, and this venue is a place where large capital, some of it is represented here, meets large companies, which are actually the productive fabric of the economy. And so when it all comes together is what today's economy is about, and the success of Spain has a lot to do with it. Lots of large companies, the ability to attract large funds to invest in these companies, an interest in being in this market, and then a connection to the small and medium-sized economy, which are the fabric of the economy. So today we have a tremendous panel of speakers to talk about all the dimensions of this, the policy dimension, the investor dimension, the business dimension, and hopefully we're going to have an interesting conversation to our audience. So thank you very much, all of you, for accepting to be in the panel with us, and we decided. So I think I will start by, I was supposed to do an introduction, but since they've all been introduced, I'll be very brief on that introduction. I won't do it. But I will actually start with the Secretary of State because I think policy elements matter a lot here. And I think the important thing is to realize that you look at this conference, there's been a growing and a very large and growing interest of international capital to come to Spain. Those that are here are a representation of that. And so my first question would be from a policy perspective on the side of the government. How would you see the future and the key strengths, and how do you envision changes that will make Spain even more attractive so that global investors and global firms choose to come here and choose to stay here for the longer haul?
Well, thanks very much. First, let me thank the organizers, BNP and Studio Communication, for 1 year again inviting me to this, what I believe has become a real landmark event in terms of investors, gathering the investors and attracting the attention to Spain. So I congratulate you again for this edition, you know. I think, let me first frame it saying that the Spanish economy is doing well. You know, some international publications think that we are doing it the best in the world, and I will not deny them that. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that we are a very open economy in terms of trade, exports, imports, but also certainly the role that foreign investors are playing in our economy is critical, you know. I have some data here. Today, foreign investment represents 41% of our GDP, but it has increased 33% since 2018, 33%. And you mentioned large corporations. Yes, we are receiving investments from big companies, but this morning I asked the team, tell me about the startups as well. And according to Bank Inter, which is an independent bank, last year 3.3 billion euros raised by Spanish startups, which already have a capitalization value of over 100 billion. So it's not just big companies are investing in Spain, but also small companies. Why is that? I think Spain has some structural position that the fundamentals are great. You know, we have legal security, we have great infrastructure in terms of transport, we have digital infrastructure, we have global companies, many of them represented here, that are leaders in their fields, great quality of life. And these are fundamentals that position ourselves in a better place than many others. But ultimately, I think what has made the difference is that this country knows where it wants to go, and I keep repeating this every year, and at least as far as the government is concerned, we know where we want to go, and I think investors appreciate that. We have what is called a clear roadmap. Some might differ, some might, but they know where we are trying to take the country onwards, and that gives them predictability in terms of what we want to do. And I'll say at least 4 key areas which I think are fundamental for what we have done and what we intend to do, and is attracting investors. The first, and is not secret, is the green agenda. I mean, from day one, this government understood the importance of committing to the ecological transition and harnessing the potential of our sun and our wind. And today, Spain is recognized as the leader in terms of renewables and the green agenda, and that is a fact. Today, 64% of Spain's total installed capacity is renewable. Last year, 58% of the generation of electricity was done by renewable energies. We have submitted our integrated plan for energy and climate, which predicts that we will get to 81% of our electricity produced by renewables in 2030, and we expect to attract 300 billion in investments. And to be honest, we are building and modernizing and transforming the country on the basis of the green agenda and clean and cheap electricity. The second area I would like to mention is talents and skills. I mean, there is no secret to say that out there, the competition for talent is fearsome. Every single company that is positioned here is trying to attract talent, and we understand that, and we are trying to do our homework. We have completely overhauled many of the legislation and the legal framework in terms of education when it comes to university, secondary, but also we are now starting to see the fruits of our deep reform in vocational training. Over 300,000 kids have been training, dual training, and we have looked at the results and they are getting phenomenal results in terms of jobs and salaries. But with the skills, also a clear commitment to science with a new plan, overhauling and reinforcing everything that has to do with science, innovation, and the link between science, innovation, and the transfer of technology towards companies. We have invested 18 billion in terms of the scientific world and with companies, and we are on track to get to 3% of the European target GDP for in terms of science and innovation. So ultimately, we want to create a science and knowledge-based economy. Third, public-private collaboration. I mean, from the start, and I believe Prime Minister Sanchez has mentioned this many times, we are a center-left government. There is no secret to that, but we strongly believe that both the public and the private have to work together to get our keys. So, I mean, we devised, for example, the PERTES with the European funds. We work together with the private sector to identify key areas where the country has to move forward, from microchips to electric batteries to advanced medicine, and we work with the government to design public-private projects. And this is something that I believe many companies appreciate. And finally, structural reforms. From day one, we had a roadmap, a plan, which is called the Recovery and Resilience Plan, that has been negotiated with the European Commission. So it has the stamp of the European Commission, where the reforms are there, and many of them have already borne fruits, clear fruits. Labor market reform, education reform, scientific system reform, pension reform. So I think I want to, in particular, the labor reform, I think it was done together with social partners. So this would be my last point. We believe in social dialogue, this government. So many of these reforms have done in agreement between trade unions and employers association. This is something we still, despite the difficulties, and one can read the newspapers these days, and that has created and generated social peace in this country, stability, and companies appreciate that. If you look abroad, the type of difficulties they face when implementing and enforcing reforms, in this country, reforms have been agreed, the key reforms, by the employers and the workers, and I think that has been appreciated. So these are a little bit the key summary why we think Spain is so successful.
Thank you very much. Maybe I'll go over to Lord Davis Mervyn. Question for you is, I mean, you are not only working with LetterOne now, you've had a previous experience also as a state actor. And so I would like to hear your views, and I think the audience would like to hear your views on sort of not just what you think in general of the investment climate and the potential on the upside for investing in Spain, but also taking the fact that you come from as a state actor as well. How do you see this? I mean, as highlighted, you know, the green agenda, the talent issues, the public-private partnerships. You mentioned this commitment to structural reform. All this, how do you see this upside that Spain provides, especially when you put it against, as the minister said, all the other countries and the troubling environment where they find themselves in?
Well, I would start by saying it was much easier being a chief exec and a chairman of a company than a government minister. And I realized that things move so quickly, you have no time to react. And it's got, since I did it, the world has gone through a massive phase. So where I would start is just repeating what Jonathan said. We see Spain as being a material opportunity for LetterOne. We're patient capital. We've had a great experience, so we intend to invest more in Spain, number one. Number two is, if you look at the world today, we're going through extraordinary disruption. And we're about to start an industrial revolution. We had the computing, we had the mobile, now we've got AI. And what that is going to do is change our attitude to education, to health, to careers, to business. And we have to accept that we're seeing some of that in the politics of today. And so the idea that in government you can do it, you can attract FDI on your own without partnership with business is flawed. The idea that business can do it on its own is flawed. So for me, the thing that attracts me about Spain at the moment, there seems to be a willingness and openness around a partnership, which I think is going to be absolutely critical, particularly when you look at the world of today. You know, Indonesia with 250 million people, you look at India, you look at China, the competition for FDI is intense. But I would say Spain has a massive opportunity in all sorts of areas. The only thing that I think is a European, by the way, I'm a Remainer, so I include Britain when I talk about Europe. That'll get some coverage in the media. I would say Europe has to simplify regulation. Right across every industry, including the UK, the opportunities are there in Europe, but we're going to have to simplify regulation. Otherwise, you put barriers in terms of FDI and economic growth. Final comment is that I think when you look at the world today, and L1 is a very international business, the war for talent is extraordinary. And the reason internationalization of an economy is so important is you mix cultures, you bring talent in, and then you get growth. And those countries that are, you know, my worry is globalization is not increasing, it's decreasing, and the danger is the countries go more and more inward looking. Well, my message to Spain is, you're not doing that, make sure you carry on encouraging FDI, because we see the openness, transparency, and the talent as being key attractions for ourselves.
Thank you very much, Maria. I think that this notion is very important. This public-private partnership is very important. I think you make a very interesting point, which is continue, even if the tide is going elsewhere. The way is to stay where you are and to stay put, because you know those winds will come and go. And I think that in the end, we're going to come back to.
I know I'm not allowed to follow on.
No, please.
But I think you're going to see, whether you like it or not, you're going to see Trump creating more partnership between the US government and business. It may end in tears, but it will definitely attract foreign direct investment.
So hopefully we'll have time to come back to that, sort of looking ahead, and we'll do it. But but you did raise an important point, which is you talked about all these changing revolution that we've had in technology and in innovation. And so I wanted maybe to move on to Bjorn and sort of talk a little bit about that part of it, because all the miracles that we've seen are about, can you keep up and actually get ahead of the wave of innovation that is going? There's always been the winning bet. And so maybe my question to you would be about this. I mean, you've been in Spain now for a while, so how do you see that ability of Spain and the Spanish companies to lead in this innovation wave, and particularly given how it is going into these new AI things, and sort of how do you see that potential?
Yes, so first of all, thank you, and so great to be here. Let me start by saying we have heard about that the Spanish market is very attractive. I would actually go even further, say, from a SIX point of view, and we run the exchange in Switzerland and a couple of other businesses in Switzerland. We acquired the BME exchange a little bit more than 4 years ago. And we do not only find Spain attractive, we love being in Spain. Not only because we acquired a great company, a great exchange, and a great CSD, but also the momentum we have seen in the economy. And I think what is important, and sometimes I feel we can learn from our US colleagues, they never sell themselves short. Sometimes we do. And if you look at the market here in Spain last year from an exchange point of view, the biggest IPO in Europe was here in Spain, Burj. It was one of the biggest in the world, right? If we look at the listing momentum last year, we had a handful of main market listings. We had more than 20 listings, SME listings here in Spain. And what we see with SME listings, when they get to the exchange, they get access to capital, they grow and create jobs, and actually grow faster than many of the peers. So I think when we talk about innovation, our job running as an exchange here is to secure we help companies get access to capital so they can strengthen the balance sheets, and in many cases also do acquisitions. So I will not claim that we as an exchange, we are the innovator, but we are here to help the innovators getting access to capital so they can grow. One thing that is important for me is also as our role, not only to support and service the companies, but it also is to secure the right investor base. So our job is to make sure that you guys, international investors, you have a fantastic market, an attractive market to trade in. We have many, many great companies, large cap companies, small cap companies here in Spain. But our job is to make sure it's attractive, it's easy to trade in Spain. At the same time, we also want to secure that we also give access for the retail customers. I think this is a very important part, and we talk about why is Europe failing in terms of equity culture. We do way too little for retail investors. So for us, it's also about not only for looking at institutional investors, it's also make sure that retail investors can tap in to the listed company, invest in them, and be a part of future growth opportunities with SME companies. So this is very important for us. Our role is to support the listed companies, so make sure they can grow and grow faster, and at the same time make sure that the investment opportunity for investors, whether it's retail investors, institutional investors, local investors, international investors, is there. So building the right liquidity pool for the market. Finally, I think what is important for me also to highlight here, and we heard it a little bit earlier today, the relationship for us we have with the regulators and the government in Spain is super, super important. Let's remember that multinational companies based here in Spain, they have a choice. They can decide to list in US, they can decide to list in UK. Actually, nobody decides to list in UK for the time being. But they have...
I was expecting that one.
But they have choice. And I think what is important here that we work closely with the regulators to make sure that the rules, regulation, taxation are still attractive for companies to be here in Spain. It is not given. They have choice. So I think that's one very important part I just want to highlight. It is so important that the regulators and the government, we have such a great momentum. We look at the Spanish economy, the fastest growing in EU for time being. With the outlook, I mentioned the listed companies we had last year. When I look at the pipeline for the first half of this year, I see more than a handful of listed companies also coming this way. Let's make sure we take that momentum and are clever around regulation, clever around taxation, financial transaction tax that we've implemented here in Spain. For me, it's just insane. It's a shame that we did that many years ago. Things like that, let's make sure we take the momentum and are clever around regulation so we keep the momentum we have in terms of listing and growing the economy, and make sure we also maintain companies here in Spain because they have choice and can decide to list and move somewhere else. And my final point is, if you see a multinational company decide to list somewhere else than Spain, what will happen is they move the headquarters, they move the finance function, you move some of the key jobs, the key talents away from Spain. So for us, very, very important that we also make sure to keep and make sure that the market is attractive for the multinational listed companies we have here.
So we're going to come back to the Secretary of State eventually. I think this is something will be interesting to also see how this is viewed as you go ahead. But I'll move now to James. James, thank you. Your business is in real estate, and so everything in the economy ends up being in real estate because everybody needs a place to be. So looking just from a real estate perspective, you have a very good sense of how the economy is going and where the big drivers of growth are. So maybe how do you are, from where you are looking at the Spanish economy, where do you see the main drivers of growth? Where are you and where do you think you're going to be, and how do you see the Spanish economy moving from your real estate perspective?
Yeah, sure. And also, let me obviously express my gratitude for the invitation here today. So we've been investing in real estate in Spain since 2003. So we've been here for 22 years now. And you know, if anything, we wish we had done more in Spain over that 2 decades or so that we've been invested here. I think our kind of approach as investors, and a little bit this echoes I think the LetterOne approach, is to create or to buy and then to grow businesses with a focus obviously on real estate and with a focus on trying to invest into into structural shifts as opposed to cyclical shifts in the way that we are all living our lives, and structural demand drivers that can withstand short-term volatility and the volatility that obviously we've all experienced as investors over the last 3 to 4 years. So I think to answer your question, from a real estate perspective only, I think we as a firm are invested more broadly than real estate in Spain, including meaningfully in the energy transition sector. But from a real estate perspective, I'd highlight two. The first is digital infrastructure, which actually I was in Zaragoza yesterday because we're looking at potentially a pretty large data center development there that is a joint venture between our real estate business and our infrastructure business. And given the really unique attributes that this country has relative to elsewhere in Europe, that is a sector within real estate where Spain, I think, is just phenomenally positioned to benefit from just the enormous global demand that we're seeing. And we're really seeing come through in the US, and we're seeing come through in Asia, and increasingly we're seeing come through in Europe from hyperscalers in particular. So that, I think, is a sector that is very, very capital intensive on the equity side and on the debt side, is complicated, is a little bit of a nascent sector within real estate, but one that is an absolute priority for us on a global basis, a priority for us in Spain, and I think where Spain has a real opportunity to be a European and global leader, in that particular sector. And then the other sector that we've invested, for many years in this country, is the hospitality space. This echoes, of course, some of the comments that were made during the introductory remarks, as well as from the Secretary of State. But obviously, this country, has a number of really unique attributes relative to elsewhere in Europe, certainly relative to the United Kingdom. And we bought a business here called Hotel Investment Partners in 2017, so 7-8 years ago. At the time, that business owned 14 hotels in Spain. We've taken it to over 70 hotels, predominantly here in Spain, but also grown it across the Mediterranean, so Portugal, Italy, Greece as well today. But this country, has attributes that nobody else can really compete with on a European level, and will continue to benefit from those, and will continue to benefit from the strength of kind of global travel trends. And so that's a sector that we continue to have real conviction in and intend to continue to support in terms of the capital that we put to work in this country.
Thank you. So a lot of it is going to be, you mentioned data centers as key, but leveraging the energy and all that stuff, of course, but also this aspect of hospitality, which is, we know it's a big part of the Spanish economy, but you see it keeping up its growth and keeping up its momentum.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there was a huge surge in the US post-COVID, and then there was in most subsectors within lodging, a little bit of a pullback from the really significant growth that the kind of the post-COVID surge saw. Europe did not see anywhere close to that level of kind of exceptional demand, but is on a much healthier footing on a go-forward basis, and Spain in particular.
Thank you. So I'm going to come back to Luis here. Luis, you're playing BlackRock. It's amazing ability to manage all these assets funds around the world. And obviously, we can think of it as, okay, I want to hear you on sort of Spain, not just in how do you see the potential, which is a lot of people are waiting to listen, but also, how do you see the role of funds like yours and others in terms of developing the financial markets and developing all that environment, which, as Bjorn said, is conduit. I mean, I think Bjorn put his emphasis, which even innovation, it's critical to have a conduit between the funds, the markets, and then the innovators to actually accelerate that innovation. So how do you see the role of these international funds in terms of spicing up the financial markets in Spain so that conduit becomes more effective?
Yeah, thank you very much for the invitation to participate in the panel. And I think we all agree on the importance of foreign investments into the country. This has been widely explained today, not only by injecting resources to local economy, but also fostering innovation, competitiveness, and stability. But I would like to focus on a concept which we strongly believe on, which is the role of the capital markets. And you announced it a little bit already. So we at BlackRock believe in the power of capital markets, and there's a direct link between those countries with a big capital and developed capital markets and their long-term economic growth. Not only economic growth, but also resilience. And this is even more important when crises come. And we saw it in the last one back in the 2010, 2012 in Spain, where the banking system at some point collapsed and the only resource of financing via banks was a problem for some companies. If at that moment you have a well-developed capital markets, there are alternatives. So that's why we talk about the vicious circle about the capital markets. On the one hand, the more investors enter, and we are obsessed about helping people access capital markets as investors, turning savers to investors, the more we help them, the more we are helping them achieve their financial objectives, whether there are savings for retirement or a dream, I want to buy a house, or taking my kids to university or whatever. But on the other hand, all that money returns into the economy in the shape of investments. So that's what we call it the virtuous circle. So the more that is developed, the better for the long-term growth of the company. And let's put it in numbers. Let's set some numbers. In Spain, Spanish households' financial assets, according to Inverco's statistics, is 3 trillion. We need to put as much as possible this money to work into financial markets, into the capital markets. But local financing is not enough. I mean, we've seen it, that we need foreign investments. The size of the stock market is roughly 1.3 trillion. Bjorn, if I'm not wrong, we are the 8th in terms of size in Europe. 24% of the stock market is invested by foreign investors. So what does this mean? 1 out of every $4 invested in the stock market comes from foreign investors. This is obviously translated into liquidity of our market, growth, resources, and ultimately job creations. And I agree, Manuel, of course, it's not only listed and big corporates. I mean, there's a lot of money also coming into the country to support smaller business, SMEs, and also startups. So the more we incentivize all this, the better, no doubt, for the long-term growth of the economy. We at BlackRock are invested in Spain since 1994, so we just celebrated our 30th anniversary. We can, and I can say the numbers, we are invested today $70 billion in the Spanish economy, out of which 34 in listed stock companies, but also we're lending 15 billion to corporate debt. We're investing 20 billion in the public debt, and we are also invested in direct investment, not listed, up to $1 billion. And this is a clear commitment from our side to the country and its peoples. And we're looking forward to doing it for the next 30 years.
So once again, I mean, you've highlighted this notion that the conduit matters, sort of making sure that the passage between foreign capital coming in, and particularly foreign investors, and the companies that are on the side of the economy, that the function of these capital markets is very important. It comes back to the regulatory aspect that Bjorn has raised before, which hopefully we'll come back to it again. We are a little bit short of time, and so I had one question that I'm going to ask you. It's about 1.5 minutes each before I come back to the Secretary of State. And again, Lord Davies, you mentioned, all these different revolutions, computers, internet, all that has happened, innovation being at the core of the way the economy functions today. But what we've heard at the beginning today was, this is the first time we're going to have a technological revolution in the middle of a geopolitical revolution. So the politics is different. The last revolutions the internet, computers, were in a very different political context. So my question to you, and I'm going to ask you for one sentence for each, do you expect, and I'll jump you and then I'll come back to you, Secretary of State, do you expect that all these trends, the US issues, some of the issues that Laura Davis mentioned, will fundamentally affect, or there's risk for what's happening in Spain going forward in the next 2-3 years? Do you see it as managing that risk in a specific way, or do you believe that it's about staying steady, as Laura Davis said, remaining open, and there's going to be upside in it? So maybe I'll just go from the way we started. Mervyn, starting from you, so one sentence, do you believe that there's risk, or how do you see it happening?
Well, I'll be very quick, but I was with my grandchildren in Hong Kong, seeing an 8 and 10-year-old, the way that they used ChatGPT and just general access to knowledge for that generation. I'm incredibly excited about how AI and other technological developments are going to make the world a very different place, but I see opportunities everywhere. I think the key for Spain, and we're big lovers like yourselves of Spain, is to make sure that as the entrepreneurs create new businesses, that the capital is there to support them, because it's there in the US, it's a great strength of the US, and we need, right across Europe, to make sure that we support entrepreneurialism, because it's going to be there.
Thank you very much. Jorn, any potential that all these political risks will have challenging effects?
First of all, I'm very bullish on the opportunities here in Spain. I think I mentioned listing momentum is super strong. The Spanish market is probably the leading listing market in Europe for time being, so I think momentum opportunities are great. There are some risks if we suddenly see increased volatility in the equity market, if we suddenly see inflation to rise. Of course, it will also impact Spain, but I think actually Spain has a much better starting point than many of their peers in Europe, so that's one part. Talking about risk, I'm concerned about, I fully agree with the comment, Europe need to deregulate. I think regulation is a burden in Europe, and that we can learn from US, less regulation, that's something we need to focus. And the final thing is, and that's a little bit on us, we need to make sure it's easier for investors to invest in Spain. Whether it's on the way we build our trading system, the easier and cheaper it is for institutional foreign investors to trade in Spain, the better it is for the Spanish economy. And that's a part, the thing we need to do, and the thing we can also do better going forward, make sure it's easier for investors, whether it's institutional or retail investors, to invest in the Spanish market.
Thank you very much, Bjorn. Your question, James. How do you see the next coming years?
Sure. So look, we operate in a globally connected financial system. So dislocation anywhere does obviously have, kind of have impacts. But as we look at it, and I voted Remain as well, and you just look at what's happened in the UK since that vote and the trajectory of growth in the UK since the outcome of that referendum, relative to what might have been. As we look at it, Spain, in the context of the issues that are that Germany is facing today, that we're seeing in France and so on, has real opportunity, I think, to grab disproportionate share of global capital as a result of presenting a more predictable, more stable investment environment. And given the trajectory of rates, I mean, as Luis mentioned this morning, and I think the significant difference between the ability to just have a real sense as to the trajectory of rates in the Eurozone relative to the UK and relative to the United States, and Spain being, I think, disproportionately a beneficiary of a lower rate environment, that's pretty positive.
Thank you. Last question to you, James. How do you see the coming years?
We've witnessed over the last 30 years the evolution of the Spanish economy. I mean, we all agree it's been amazing, right? And that we've gone through all type of crises and different and tough circumstances. So, as every year, when we look to the next year, the next 3 years, we always see, this is going to be an special year. It's going to be very complicated because of these concrete situations. It's always the same. The only thing that doesn't change, the only one, it's change, volatility. whether it comes from geopoliticals, geostrategy, and so on. It's our business manage that. So the same reasons that took us to invest in Spain 30 years ago are still here. So they've been mentioned today. So geographical allocation, we're a gateway to Europe, Latin America, and Africa. A very skilled workforce, a lot of talent that have led to huge international companies which are leading worldwide in their respective sectors. Infrastructure, completely agree, not only on transportation, but digital connectivity, and the Spanish culture, which acts as a magnet to attract people and investments. And that's going to remain for the next 30 years. So we can be very positive, and we're going to keep investing.
Thank you. I'll take it as a segue to put up the last question. But before I give you the last question, I'll just try to wrap up a little bit things here so that you have the last word. So I think, what we've seen is a very positive outlook. First, a clear path, a clear notion from a policy side of where you want to go, and this notion that public and private go together, and so there's that very interesting path to get there. This notion that also, I think one comment that has come is it's very important to work on the capital market side. All of you mentioned capital markets and making sure that there's a tremendous interest from foreign investors. There's a tremendous potential on the real side of the economy. We just have to make sure that the capital markets make sure that that connection is done effectively and efficiently. And so there's the regulatory question that has popped up. So let's make sure that that regulatory context is there. So as we mentioned, the potential is there, the structural aspects are there. And the last point that came up, which I think was quite interesting, is actually some of you said, I don't see things changing. Others said, I see this as opportunity, because as the world becomes more unstable, the stability of Spain becomes an even greater asset and a safer place for capital to come. So that's actually a positive story coming out of it. So with this sort of short summary of some of the stuff that came up here, I'll pass it on to you on this notion of sort of how do you see the future? How do you see some of these regulatory challenges that have been brought up and making sure that capital markets are functioning and are making that allocation efficiently? And I would like to bring also some aspect that came up initially from Lord Davis, which is this notion that Europe in general, it's not just Spain. You've seen the Draghi report that's just come out. You've seen the challenge that the Draghi report brings to Europe and therefore to Spain as a leader in Europe. So as you look ahead, more than just what is happening, as you look ahead, where do you see Spain not just leading itself in this new world, but also leading Europe in this new world and sort of becoming a relative, more important in terms of the European context? Maybe I'll pass it on to you so that you can close.
Okay, I have 30 seconds.
No, yeah,
maybe
I'm sure they're okay.
I'll go a little bit beyond that, because
longer.
I think that you are asking fundamental questions. Well, I see the Spanish economy, the immediate and medium future quite bright. I think the fundamentals are right and the path is clear. But I certainly will look at the world, and there are uncertainties out there, and I think the role of Euro is critical. You have mentioned the Draghi report, and the Draghi report is a very thick report. I'm sure many of you have heard of it, and it's like 400 pages. But I'll summarize it in 3 figures that to me are the critical points that where Europe needs to address. First, 70% of the gap in productivity in GDP per capita between the US and the EU in the last 20 years, 70% of the difference in GDP per capita growth is because of productivity growth, between higher productivity growth in the US. And that is explained for the most part, pretty much everything, in the technology sector. So we have to focus on technology. We don't have technological companies. We have not made breakthroughs in terms of technology. So one thing Europe needs to do is to see why we don't have the technological giants that others like the US and now China have, and that has to do with competition policy, with how we subsidize and help our companies and our markets. The second figure I want to give you, and that links to capital markets, is 300 billion euros, and this comes from the LetterOne report, which is the other key report that was published last year. 300 billion of European savings go every year to the US. So we save a lot. In Spain, we have great savings rates, by the way, but in Europe, but they go to the US. And we need, and this is the third figure, 800 billion euros annually, according to Draghi, to sustain the needs in terms of investment needs, in terms of defense, but also green agenda, digital, science. So if we need 800 billion per year in Europe and 300 billion of our savings go to the US, we have a problem. And that links to the need to really look at capital markets. And it's not, I mean, there is a lot of regulation, and I think there's always, companies complain a lot of too much regulation. And we could agree on that. We have to simplify and for SMEs, and we have made interesting proposals in Europe. But the most important thing is to have a single capital market union. And this is the time where there's been a lot of talk about that. And unless we take that seriously with these huge figures that are mind-boggling, we will not be able to catch up with the US and do the transformations that we need in Europe. So capital market, yes, and in Spain I don't think we have any, we are up to standards to Europe, but the important thing is to have a global market, global capital market, unified European capital market, so that we can harness the savings of the Europeans to invest in our economies. And certainly Spain will be contributing to that competitiveness agenda in the next, as a leading country, as we have been doing in the last, since we were in power, certainly since 2018.
On that positive and very promising note, thank you very much all for being here, and thank you to your organization for sponsoring the panel. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the speakers, to all this panel. Thanks a lot. We'll have another one at 4 p.m. Thank you very much.